When we are young, time feels like a locked gate. We stand before it with bright hands wrapped around the bars, waiting to be older, waiting to be free, waiting for the next birthday, the next room, the next version of ourselves to arrive like a royal messenger in the dawn. We think life is ahead of us. But life is not ahead. Life is the candle already burning. There is always something we are waiting for. As children, we wait to grow. As teenagers, we wait to escape. As adults, we wait to arrive. For love, for purpose, for the sign, for the money, for the healing. For the moment when the scattered pieces finally gather and say, "Yes, now you may begin." But the mystery is this: we have been beginning the whole time. Time does not move in a straight line. It moves like a spiral staircase inside the soul. Each year returns us to the same questions, but at a deeper chamber. The same longing, the same wound, the same dream. Only now we carry more names, more ghosts, more wisdom, more silence. When we are young, we believe aging is ascent, a climb into power, beauty, freedom becoming. Then slowly, year by year, we learn that aging is also surrender. The body becomes an hourglass. The heart becomes an archive. The face becomes a map of weather survived. And memory becomes a country where the dead still leave lamps in the windows. Every year takes something, a place, a version of you, a voice you thought would always answer, a season you did not know was sacred until it had already passed. But every year also gives something, a clearer eye, a softer hand, a deeper mercy, a more honest prayer, a strange courage that does not need applause. This is the hidden alchemy of time. It removes what cannot follow the soul and distills what cannot be destroyed. Youth is the green flame. Age is the gold hidden in ash. And somewhere between them, we discover that the point was never to become older. The point was to become real, to stop waiting for life to begin, to stop postponing joy until the heavens arrange themselves perfectly, to stop treating the present moment like a hallway, leading somewhere more holy. This moment is holy. The breath in your chest, the ache you survived, the love you still carry, the unknown still calling your name. Time is not only taking from us, time is initiating us. It is teaching us how to love what cannot stay, how to bless what must change, how to recognize that every ending is a door wearing shadow. And maybe this is why everything feels faster now. Not because time is cruel, but because consciousness is ripening. The patterns are louder. The signs are nearer. The soul is less willing to sleep through its own becoming. So do not mourn every year as a loss. Some years are knives. Some years are keys. Some years are graves. Some years are wings. But all of them are teachers. And when we finally stop asking time to hurry, we begin to hear what it has been whispering all along. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not waiting for your life. You are inside the sacred unfolding of it. And every year, even the heavy ones, even the haunted ones, even the ones that took more than they gave, has been carrying you toward the truer life within you.
Ooh. Welcome back, ballers, to another episode on the Ball Don't Lie YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for joining. This one titled Know Thyself Podcast and Ball Don't Lie collab. Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday night. First and foremost, Daniel, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you coming in loud and clear, my man, AJ.
Axius says, who is this speaking? That was beautiful. Well, I remember you and I were collabing with Tom on Instagram not too long ago, and I asked the same exact question when I saw it, and Daniel said, oh, yeah, no, that was me. Super casual. He's like, oh, yeah, no, I wrote that. I was like, you wrote that? You wrote that. Holy smokes. It's like one of my favorite things to listen to in the sense of, you know, kind of looking inward and reminding ourselves of what it is that we're going through. And we're going to dive into some amazing topics tonight. Daniel, thank you again so much for joining today. Really excited. And if you could, please, as we get started here, please introduce yourself to the viewers maybe that are on my channel that aren't familiar with Daniel Know Thyself podcast, what you're interested, what you focus on, what you're all about, man. Let the viewers know.
Oh, yeah, well, absolutely. Well, again, it is the greatest honor to be on here and having this conversation with you, AJ, as well as with your entire community. You know, I've been always such a, you know, watching your stuff through the eye to eye and things like this. And so I'm usually in the community comments, watching all of them and getting blown away by even what people are sharing inside. So it's really, really great to be there and to kind of pull these two communities together. And yeah, you know, I'm just a curious seeker on the journey of anything esoteric. You know, I started with the component of like alchemy, opened up astrology and tarot, and then couple years ago, numbers really were calling my name as like, hey, this is the last frontier. You really haven't kind of like gone down some rabbit holes with. And then what a journey that was, you know, going straight down to that kind of matrix. And then through that, I was so beautifully guided to your work. And then that's how we got connected. And, you know, again, thank you so much for, you know, liking the words that I wrote. But the component about the teaks to speech, like, I can't narrate myself at one bit, you know, so being able to like put that, like the writing into something, he makes it sound like way more beautiful. Like I could put like the instructions of like IKEA furniture into that chat thing and that thing will read it for me. And I'm like, that sounds like the best, you know, coffee table ever, you know? So it's like one of those things, it definitely enhances it with the speaker. Cause that was always the thing. I have no problem speaking in conversation like this, but if I ever have to read my writing, I always have to ask the question. I'm like, do I really know how to read? Because I'm like, I'll just like start like stuttering and everything. And like, I put the cadence in the wrong spots. So it's greatly assisted by that kind of component. And you know, I always loved listening to like old radio broadcasting from like the 1940s. Like it always just like pulled me into something. So being able to tie that in was so unique. But you know, I think
Haley, by the way, Haley Knight says, I thought that was an Alan Watts quote.
Oh, well, that's quite the company to be put with, you know, it's amazing in that kind of way. But, you know, those are all my teachers in that kind of way, you know, like Alan Watts, Manly P. Hall, and that romantic side of like approaching these subjects, not just in this like technical, objective way, you know, because it's all such like this, like, heavy, deep information. it's such a good process, I think, to go in and personally make your own personal heart connection with some of these things, especially like numbers and stuff. Like, it's one of those things you do want to make a relationship with it, open it up, and kind of make like this personal connection. And like we were chatting, that was kind of that was writing that kind of came from the approach of like my 38th birthday. And that was like such an interesting perspective, because that was just like, a couple weeks ago. And it started in the morning, like waking up and being like, damn, dude, you're old. Like, you're an unk now. Like, and I was just like, nah, that's not what this is about. And so it was like kind of funny. It was like, sometimes when you're uncomfortable, that's when you get pushed to kind of do those kind of things. And it really helped like that come up in that.
Daniel, I was going to ask, so in that morning, whether it was the day before your birthday, a couple weeks before, whatever that was something just like pulling you to a notepad and paper to start writing, to like do that? I'm curious, like how did you get to that, to write such what oh my God, so much I want to say. That is such an amazing piece of work. I gotta say that it is so beautiful and so romantic. And what you and I focus on in different ways, different parts of this web that we're continuing to crawl around, right?
Yeah, great way to put it.
Yeah, is like, we're all on the same web. Like, sometimes we're just over here, and then it's like, dude, you see how this thread goes all the way to over what you're doing, this whole beautiful aspect of it, right? Because a lot of accounts and a lot of pages, I've been victim of it, I'm sure, as you have as well. Yeah, there's a lot of dark, sinister things that are a part of this type of knowledge, but there's also the other half of it, right? It's yin and yang, as above, so below. It's all the same. Like, there's just as much of a good and beautiful, and that's the real power, right? Like the real love in this knowledge and information, I felt through your writing. Honestly, it was telling me that, like, I am on the right path, no matter how many times the world's going to try to tell you differently, if that makes sense.
Oh man, absolutely. No, it's so true. And I think that's such a big process. And it's something we spoke about too, of like, the term Hakuna Matata, how you have to like earn that component of no worries. Like, you have to go through the darkness, you have to go through the component of the density of this information. But when you come out the other side, you start to see the bigger aspect of it. And you're like, no, just like this component is like, if there's two sides of this coin and we could approach it from two different ways, but that aspect of like losing sight on that universal love, that's when you get like disconnected, and all of a sudden this information becomes scary and it becomes daunting. You're like, and that's
isolating. Isolating. You feel
exactly.
Like you're the only one in this and you can't relate to anybody. And it's like, when I get to collab with Rambo, Cody, Adam the Illusion, I mean, the list goes on and on. I saw Golden Age Deception in here. He has the question about what is your what's your sun and moon rising, and we'll get into that as well. But Golden Age, I think he found my work through the numbers, but then I've learned so much through him with the astrology piece. And it's like, oh my God, I'm now being like welcomed and brought into this other part of this web that is going to make just your journey for truth so much more, like, so much stronger.
Oh yeah.
So much more powerful, right? Because the more you know, right? It's knowledge is power. You see what I'm saying? And that's why they want to keep this kind of stuff behind the curtain. Right?
Oh, most definitely.
Because then we as people, we grow together and we're going to build, and that's when it's going to be a real problem for those evil forces that do exist in this world.
It's all about that network. It is all about that network. I completely agree. And making it's so interesting, because it's like, as you make that network of these different kind of subjects that you think are isolated and you think they're all separate, you really start to see the network of how they come together. You're right. We start to make this network of the community, because that's exactly like the process that it's been for me. Because, and I especially think with the subject of numbers, that's the one that you can almost feel like you could like lose yourself in, because it's just so, like going through like a Gematrinator blog or something. You're like, oh my gosh, like it's like mind blowing how amazing it is. But then at the same time, you're just like, it's almost daunting if you like just think about it in the way of like, oh, this is how the matrix is controlled. But you're like, no, there's a synthetic component of this and there's an organic component of this. And it's like my ability is to like, you know, that's what we're trying to do is like blend to see how these work together and understand how to like utilize these in these ways.
Wonderfully said, Daniel. I mean, you know, for me, I think what attracted me to numbers the most is that it really is undeniable. And when you start understanding where numbers truly come from, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the symbols of every number, every letter that's written, you know, words and numbers have frequency. I mean, I'm a Pisces, I'm very sensitive. And when I watch that video that we opened with and I listen to the words, I mean, you're taking me somewhere else that isn't in my physical reality. And that is extremely powerful. You're using music and you're using your own words to get me there, you know? And I've always said, you know, whenever we first enter this existence, there was always one cactus behind you. There was always one. We just didn't have a number on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were always 7,000 blades of that bush that's behind you. It was always there, meaning it always just existed. But then over time, you know, with where we're at, wherever they came from, they now label what these things are. And God is the great mathematician, right? So fast forward to my short-lived 36 years of my life, you know, and then when you start understanding like the simplest idea that A has a value of 1, B has a value of 2, and you just start playing around with that, the same words right now I'm using to communicate you, that's where it all falls in. That's where the frequency is, right? Music is numbers, letters are numbers, and vice versa. And then you see how it aligns with our date durations and the way our dates are written. And it's the number's the number, right? I mean, 1 + 1 = 2. That's how we were raised to know about that. And then when you like, I'm just amazed, like when you share that simple knowledge with people, like it gets really triggering because it's essentially asking you to, can you just kind of rewire and reset from the way you were raised? And start questioning everything that you think you've known about the world around you. And, you know, I understand it. I get it. But I think that's why so many people are not so initially drawn to it, because it's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, because it's interesting because, you know, when we think about growing up in the West and like I was like public school educated, I didn't have any relationship with like astrological archetypes. Like those weren't presented to me and things like this. The aspect of the tarot, those are all I kind of like learned through the mystical like discovery. Well, I always had a relationship with numbers. It was just always so material and like conceptual in this way of like, oh, they're only quantitative. Like it's just to declare values. That's all they are. So I thought that was what was so interesting about the number component, is because I had to go back and like remake this relationship of getting like, oh no, this is something so much more than just a quantity. And you were right too. Numbers have always been here. Like we didn't invent numbers, we discovered numbers. And that right there is because it's like, it's the core of everything. Because, you know, you were talking about like music breaks down the numbers, even the astrological signs, the tarot signs, everything, colors, they all break down to numbers. And that's how this reality processes. Like in every moment that we're doing, we're sending coded information into the construct and it's receiving it down in that number value. And it receives it just like a computer. It processes it and then it like responds back to us with it. And then we receive it and that figure 8 of that, you know, infinity sign kind of starts to dance. So I think it's to me, numbers were the subject. And this is what I always tell people. Nothing expanded my understanding of all the other esoteric subjects as much as when I started looking into numbers. I became a better astrologer. I became better at understanding tarot, better at like alchemy. It was the most enhancing subject, and it really still is.
God spoke the world in numbered days, didn't he, in the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that an important thing to know?
Yeah.
What does it matter, right? On the first day, on the second day, right? God rested on the 7th. Okay, we're focusing on these 7 numbers. God, the you know, a big God number is 7.
Yeah.
G, the 7th letter, right? You know, all those kinds of things. And Yeah, dude. This is why it's so fun that, with the knowledge you have on the astrology side and you're getting pulled in understanding like, oh my God, man, there is such another tier to all of my journey and the only way I can get there is I now need to start pulling on this numbers rope. And then it's really going to start elevating. Right. And what I've learned starting on the numbers side and being challenged by a lot of other very amazing coders in this community. Rambo, I mean, God, I can't stop talking about Rambo. I mean,
you know my feelings about him. I'm like, he's a wizard. Yeah.
I got to a point where I feel like I very strongly understood the basics of gematria, the date durations, the way the dates are written, the four, like main ciphers of the English language to understand, maybe dabbling in a few others, applying it. I felt like I did plateau because it's like that's all I had. Like that's the only tool belt I have. I can go, fix the toilet and I can go fix the sink, but like I can't fix drywall, for example. Like, you know what I mean? And hey, shout out to Adam the Illusion. He's another one I mentioned earlier about just with the collaborations because his work when it comes to the Bible is like incredible. And we all kind of bring different things to the table. And I feel that's why it's fun when we do this together, because then it always breeds something even more beautiful. But yeah, I'll just stop there. I could keep going, but.
Oh no, I love it. No, and again, it's just like, and two, man, that was one of the things that I've always was so like finding your work. And then, and two, just because you spoke about my writing, like it would hurt me up my heart not to tell like how much your writing has like changed my understanding and my capacity to see how all this works through like your books and your material. And that was one of the best gifts I ever had was like finding your books and being able to sit down, especially because, one of the things I found that I really liked about your books is like, because you could have these conversations when I'm listening to you, like with Cody and stuff like that, but it's happening so fast kind of thing that the one thing I really liked about reading your books is like you go through a line and it like blows your mind. I can just like run my eyes back up that line and like reread it, where it's a little difficult if I'm like listening to you guys in my car to be like, wait, what was that? I have to like rewind to get my mind blown. It was just like this really interesting way of approaching it. And so, apart from the books and stuff that you've like brought into my life, your community and your network of connecting to people and like making these connections happen, like, like the aspect of like Adam being in here, golden age of deception. Like I've learned so many like mind-blowing things and met mind-blowing people through you. And so again, I think that's such a powerful part of being that conductor of the network and making those connections. And you're always so open to bring new people on and have conversations. And so it's such an admiring thing to witness, because I think that's so important for us to like work together and collaborate at this time, because at no point is it a competition, because we're all bringing a piece of the puzzle together. And I kind of feel like that's almost like this newer generation of like esoteric researchers, because sometimes I think in the past it was like, because like some of the people that I like totally got initiated through, it would always hurt me to hear like, Michael Cesarian talk mad about like Mark Passio or something, like people that like brought me into this. Like there was always this like conflicting energy. And so I love that this new generation is stepping in, being like, oh no, like everybody has a piece, like everybody can bring like something to the potluck dinner. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it like more like like expansive kind of component, So I'm just excited that even my audience is going to be able to jump in here, not only connect to your work, but all the other works that you're involved with.
It's funny that you said that, right? Because offline we were talking about what we'll dive into in a little bit. The Last Supper, right? It's a long table. There's a lot of people at the table. Everyone's bringing something to the table, and guess what? It makes for a delicious meal. But like as soon as it's like my green beans are better than your broccoli, and it's like, what are we doing? Aren't we here to break bread? Are we here to break bread? They're both very, very good, and they're both on my plate. And I'm gonna finish this whole plate. You know what I mean?
Can we all mix them all together and make a smorgasbord out of it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to make some ramen noodles. Someone came in with some ramen noodles, and they're really good. And we're gonna work together.
Almost definitely.
I love that, man. So like, I think that's a good kickoff for maybe for us to kind of start diving into some things that I had loosely prepared that I really wanted to kind of further pick your brain on, but also I'll tell, my viewers right now, those that watch Eye to Eye every week and, any of the other solo things or other collabs I've done on that channel, I'll let you know right now, this is going to be the most humbling, open, and honest about myself kind of presentation. And I say that because sometimes I'll share, my birthday's March 15th, the stabbing of Julius Caesar, JC, the Ides of March, all those things. But like mostly what I focus on are things that I'm observing as I live my life, right? But what I wanted to open with, I kind of gave you a hint of this, Daniel. In the capitals added cipher of gematria, meaning A is 1, B is or Z is to 26, undercase, and then you run it back again, and then you go back to A, uppercase, so it would be 27 all the way up to 52, right? That's how the capitals added cipher works. So when we talk about how numbers are sacred, I thought it was interesting that on today's date, May 17th, the date written 17/5, here we are talking about the sacred number or numbers and how they coincide. And we just so happen to be broadcasting where you're located, out in the vicinity of Phoenix, Arizona, which equals 175. And I'm a graduate of the University of Arizona, where Arizona Wildcats equals 175 in the same cipher. So not only do we have that connection with Arizona, but it also shows right here in the numbers and the timing of when we're doing this. This wasn't planned. You and I were supposed to do a stream, I want to say like a week and a half ago, right? And things happened. It was like that divine intervention where it was like, no, not yet. It will happen, but there's other things that took precedent, which it makes sense. But I'm just saying, I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yeah,
it wouldn't align like this if we did end up going live the day that we decided to originally, right?
Oh, it's so fascinating, and it's interesting too, because like even with like when I do like natal chart readings and like alchemical counseling with people, anytime there's something that happens with somebody's schedule, they're always like super apologetic, or I have to be where like, oh, you know what, I'm so sorry, I have to reschedule. It's always so fascinating. There's like a reason why that happens afterwards. Like something maybe happened in that event from that day where they're like, hey, actually, like I was there to talk to you about like thinking about I wanted to leave my job, and like I actually got like let go on that Friday. So like our conversation on Tuesday would have been like pointless because you would have been like giving me the courage to do that. And then so like now that we've rescheduled to like the following Thursday, they're like, I'm now having a completely different conversation with you. And so it's so fascinating with how time works in that way. And yeah, I was, and too, one of the things that we've always talked about is like how what like is always so amazing with me is like how good you are at looking at the present moment and then like looking at connections like this, because this is wild. This is such a great connection to kind of see and to approach on.
Yeah, I feel like whether it's astrology and the knowledge you've shared with me when we did our personal reading of my chart, it's all about just making the decision to know, right? Like this isn't, information that nobody can get their hands on. It's like you have to just make the choice to like be like, okay, what are they talking about? Ordinal? What's ordinal?
Yeah.
Phoenix, why does it equal 175? Oh, it's just A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. They added it up. That's the 175. Oh man, I never realized or thought about how the US writes today's date 517, not 17/5 like the rest of the world. And it's like, whoa, like it's all right there. It's just a matter of, people taking the time and being interested enough to learn more. And that's why I'm so interested and so humbled anytime I'm having conversations with people on the astrology side, including my wife, because to me, it's like I'm really trying. And I get frustrated sometimes because it's like I've been told the same thing 100 times about something, about like understanding the zodiacs and all of that. And I'm like, dang it, I still don't get it. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's like hard. I don't know why, I'm trying. And like, here's an example of like kind of my effort on the zodiac side. I shared this with you a little bit. And then I'll show you how it kind of goes back to how I've applied what I know, where I'm stronger in. And then also just going back and kind of thinking about my life and like, where I was at certain times. And then, oh my goodness, it kind of started scaring me, honestly, like how all these things way before I feel like I elevated, so to speak, as far as, oh, geez, here we go. Yeah, that's going to happen. It does this zoom in thing. Maybe it's like, all right, here's your moment.
It did. It was just like, there we go.
Yeah. So my point is I just want to share with you a couple things that maybe I know you're not that familiar with. I don't think a lot of people are with me as well. But what I do know is I'm a Pisces. I know I was born March 15th. The Ides of March and the stabbing of Julius Caesar, JC, kind of like Jesus Christ. And I'm going to preface this right now by saying I am not calling myself Jesus Christ. It's like the connections that I've seen within myself and Jesus is amazing. Like it's amazing. And it's always been there, right? It was like, do you want to see it or not? Right. I firmly do feel that everybody, no matter how skeptical or receptive you are, everybody has these kinds of connections, and you'll just be blown away about like when you start applying all these tools to start putting that web together. You're gonna be blown away, each and every one of you, if you apply it to your own life, right? These are things I didn't write or script. It's things that were always written,
Yeah.
And so when we think more biblically, well, my name AJ, my first name is Andrew, right? So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's one of the names in the Bible. And, not only that, he was the first disciple, right? The first, follower of Jesus. And he was one of the 12. Notice again how they emphasize the specific amount of people that are following him, right? And he is noted for bringing people to Jesus, including his brother Peter. Now, we're not going to get on my connections with the Peters in my life, but that we're going to stay focused here. What really blew my mind was that I grew up Catholic, and my senior year in high school, I was voluntold essentially in my religion class, because we had religion class at our high school. We were going to do a skit, and it was a very popular skit back in the day. It was a song by Lifehouse called Everything.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard it, but it's a great song, beautiful song. But there were churches out there that were using that song and making a skit because the song kind of tells a story, right? And our school decided to mimic that, and I was voluntold to play Jesus. So this is a screenshot from the YouTube video that's out there. If any of you guys really want to see it, I can send you the link. But this is a long time ago. I had a buzz cut because I was on the volleyball team, which is a sport typically played on the beach, right? So you got that connection with Southern California, where I'm raised, volleyball being a very beach next to the water type of sport. As a team, we all had to shave our heads essentially. But anyways, here's me playing Jesus. Don't forget words like salmon, the fish, me being Pisces, the fish. I thought that was interesting. Tim Salmon of the Anaheim Angels, my local team growing up. He was one of my favorite players. And of course, on the Angels now, you have Mike Trout. I don't think that's a coincidence that Mike Trout and
I didn't
Tim
even think about that.
Yeah, and they're the Angels, right? They're the Angels. They have a very, they're one of the only teams that have that kind of churchy, heavenly, spiritually, vibed connection, right? At least just surface level. So think about this. I was born on the 74th day of the year, okay? And which is a huge number when it comes to this knowledge of gematria and letters and numbers. But sure enough, when you just use numerology, meaning you break down double digits into single digits by adding them together, Know Thyself podcast just so happens to be 74, right? In the Pythagorean cipher. So you type that all out, you break down every double digit to a single, add it up, boom, Know Thyself podcast 74. Using the simplest cipher, Daniel, A1, B2, C3, I'm going to rattle off all these words here that all equal 74. Gematria, which means geometry within language. English, parables, Jesus, Joshua, which is another name for Jesus, Messiah, Jewish, menorah, cross, gospel, occult, Masonic. I mean, the list continues, but I feel like these were some pretty good starters as far as showing like how powerful even just one number can be. I mean, this is just one number, right?
Yeah.
And every number has quite a bit of power, you know?
Yeah.
The more you understand what they mean and what they represent.
Oh, no, absolutely. You know, and you know what? Something that's just like so crazy, because like you were kind of telling me a little bit about the 74, and it's just so funny that you just brought this up, because I'm like currently I'm currently at my family's house, and I swear to you, when she's just like, "Hey, do you want to eat dinner before or after your little conversation with your friend?" Because again, my parents, like, they don't know what I do. They're just like, "Are you going to talk to your friend tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to talk to my friend tonight." So they just think I'm like having a conversation with my friend. She's like, "Okay, great. I made salmon."
Oh, are you kidding me?
I can't even make this up. I can't even, like, when my like jaw just dropped when I saw that slide. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. But she's like, "Yeah, I made salmon." And so like that was just too funny of a connection as you're kind of going through with it. But again, it's just like,
dude,
it's
that's a divine thing that I'm noticing the more I collab and talk with people, like just naturally sharing, and then people go, "Oh my God, dude.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe you just mentioned that." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?"
Absolutely.
And they're like, and then it's just mind blowing. And it's like, how is that when you experience that more and more and more?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how is that just a coincidence every single time? I mean, that negates the whole definition of a coincidence.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
something that never happens, and the odds are astronomical. But in the world of sports betting, people understand why you parlay and bet on 10 games, because you need all of them to happen.
Yeah.
And they pay out so high because the odds of all 10 of those hitting are astronomical. But then when you apply that same understanding to your own life,
you're hitting parlays every day.
Like, people are just like, yeah, exactly. You're hitting parlays every day, just in life, you know? And
oh my
it's
gosh,
not even something you're controlling. It's just happening.
Absolutely. And you know what it is? It's like that whole understanding of like from coincidence to synchronicity, and that kind of like, oh, like this is something else. And like, this is what I always tell people, like, no, this is the breadcrumbs that universal life force leaves for you on your way back home. It leaves you these little breadcrumbs of these moments of like, oh no, you're on the right path, you know, and it's always leaving us these kind of things to like guide us back to the source, get us back home. And it's these kind of moments. But again, if you're not looking for them, they're not looking for you, because it's like you're not even like picking up. And so it's so interesting too, because I think once you start, you know, it's like once you start paying attention to it, it's like it starts paying attention to you more, and you start to see the dilation of these moments and like the increase of it. And I think even just in like the astrological timing that we've been moving in, people have felt it even this year. They're just like, man, I'm feeling like there's like a compression of synchronistic moments in my life. And it's like, I'm seeing more and more each and every day. And that's a conversation I get to have, like, luckily with like everybody through my like personal things, through the natal charts and alchemical consultations. So many people are just like having these amazing little moments that they're experiencing in this kind of way. And I just have to push away a little Scorpio that was just making a scorpion that was making a gotta love Arizona. And luckily I just pushed him away. And I think he got the moment on that one. But look at that. Another zodiac sign coming up to get our attention.
There you go. There you go. You know what? Honestly, there might be something with that, because I'm going to pivot here to another thing you and I talked about really quickly, just because I wanted to give you a little precursor. The topic of syncretism.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Zachariah. You got Santos Bonacci. You got Julio Castro, Divine Being Divine. You know, who the it's hard to define syncretism. You know, I can pull up the definition, but ultimately the connections with the zodiac and gematria isn't even really much applied. This is kind of like, you know, the college course up over here, while you're just at you're not in the honors course. This is the honors course. What I wanted to share was a visual that was driven by Julio Castro. Once again, Divine Being Divine. You know, this is not something I drew, but that's the resource, and I'll make sure to include those credentials in the description of the video once we wrap up. but his artistic ability to draw out what he's talking about is incredible. And I'm going to warn people right now, you're going to see this and a lot of people are going to go, wow, this looks very schizo or something, but it's a very simple drawing. Like when you really look at it and the way he is connecting the human anatomy to the zodiac, right? The signs, the stars in the sky, and how it coincides with the Last Supper in the Bible and why the painting is painted the way that it is. It's unbelievable. And I thought I could kind of share this visual. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is going to be a little real-time interpretation by Daniel.
Love it.
With regards to, well, what do you think and what can you add to it? And then you mentioned a Scorpio just popped in. I'm a Pisces, you're a Taurus. Maybe there's something about today, May 17th, that you'll think about and go, holy smokes. No wonder we're talking about this. So,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So let me get my screen back up here. So like I said, I'm going to actually zoom in on this part, but I'm going to read to you really quick. And those for the viewers who might not be able to see it. It says up here, Jesus, the Son of God, right? Think about that double entendre of son and son, is born December 25th of every year. 8 days after the 24th is January 1st. The new year, and he highlighted this, the new year begins as we cut the circle to the old year, which represents circumcision. And here, so essentially in the middle here, right, we're talking about baptism. We got christening happens at birth or rebirth, right? Christ is an Egyptian word for king. So when you think about Christianity, christening, there's that whole king connection, right? Azarel 6119 says, Pisces. Yeah, go Pisces. We're the feet, baby. Let's go. On the side here, he writes, Jesus wears a crown of thorns as he dies on the cross. The thorns of Jesus are a symbol of horns. Right? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, right underneath the body here that you're seeing, and this is where I'm going to pass it off to you, brother, as far as these signs. He writes right underneath it. He says, when the sun enters Libra, it's judged and it wears a crown, and it's between good and bad thieves and is a victim. And then there's kind of more signs down here. And then at the very bottom, this is the painting, the Last Supper painting, right? And then you can see how he's drawing the body right here. I'm going to zoom in. Here we go. The body, the head, Aries, and how that, when you look at the painting, this painting specifically, how even the positioning of those that are at the table align with the zodiacs.
Yeah.
So yeah, please. Blow my mind.
Oh my gosh. No, there's so much here. And this brings up so much, even when it comes to the idea of when you get to see how the astrological lining of the body even goes, this even changes your own interpretation of different medical things that you go through, the component of the Taurus having the throat and the jaw and this whole area here. And when I was growing up, always my ailments were sore throats kind of thing. And it was just and then finding out later that Taurus rules the throat. Anytime I'm sick, this is the thing that kind of comes in. And a lot of the times this is hey, are you not speaking you're enough? Are you holding back on what you're speaking? And so you could almost even get into the schematics of the causal energetic factors of even what we experience with the body. And there's been so much information. There's been so much astrological electromagnetic energy this year that's been brought into Aries, and it's all in the head. And there's been this individual awareness and opening of our own personal relationship with this universal frequency that we're tapping into. So even when we were talking about this dilation of synchronicities, well, it's because we've turned on in our heads. We went from 15-watt light bulbs to 500-watt light bulbs just at this year that kind of came in, and Aries is all about, fire. It's all about the spark. Aries fire is the lighting of a match. It's the spark of fire kind of thing. And so not only did this year is it defined by so much energy moving into Aries that's so epic, it's also a fire year. It's the year of the fire horse. And we can even see like why the first event that happened this year, right after that circumcision moment, right after the cutting of the circle, was that large fire in Northern Europe. Like it was just like, it was like right on point with that kind of component. And everything has been like speeding up in that kind of way. And so understanding how this body kind of like unfolds and it looks at, it makes so much sense. And this really helps you kind of make this like personal relationship with it. Cause it's like, yeah, Cancer rules the heart. It's all about that heart. It's about connecting to that intuitive component. Leo, it's all about like the guts and like, do you have the stomach to kind of like take in and activate that will? It's almost like that aspect of like, even in like how important that is to like activate within ourselves. Like one of the things we do a big breakdown is the Wizard of Oz. And in the Wizard of Oz, it was the component of the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, which is thought, emotion, action. The Lion is the only one that gets 2 songs in that movie. He gets 2 songs because that's what we need the most, is like we need that component of the will to actually stand up to like what we think is right and what we feel is right. Well, do you actually like act accordingly? And that comes through that aspect of like, do you have the guts to actually go through the spiritual journey? Like, do you have the guts to actually like step through and experience and not only like in like go on the journey to find truth, but like, are you ready to, as you step into the spiritual process, to understand like what that entails? Because you don't go through the spiritual alchemical process to make your life easier. It's like, oh, far from it. Like when you go through this, your whole experience goes through this like intensification, and it goes through like, you're really kind of calling on this like component of healing that like, it's going to bring out all of those things that used to be below the surface. And you're going to have to go through some like deep and dark places in it. So it really kind of, gives that courage, and it does it. It kind of gives us this like, this whole understanding of how all this is made up. And, one of the things that, and I love how, and I love how the divine being too, like he gets the information out and he's not even like worried about like what it looks like. Cause this is all you really need to do. But I've never seen the alignment of the body laying down. And again, the same kind of way of like a coffin, almost like how we would lay in that. And we talked about like, what's the difference between the coffin and a womb? Like you really don't know the difference when you're in one or the other. But how it's interplayed on top of this zodiac wheel, because you're so right. Like they're broken up by the seasons. You got the spring, you've got the summer, you've got the fall, and you've got the winter, and they're all localized with Jesus right in the middle. And one of the things that I think is so amazing, kind of like, even with the beginning that we were talking about, it's so interesting how like Aries is looking forward, and he's looking forward. And like, if you actually look at the painting, Aries is looking straight across the table to Pisces. And if you really look at the actual painting, you realize, oh, they're the same. It's just him going through this whole evolution. Like you're really like walking with Aries to go through this whole journey and to see themselves at the very end, because that's where he's actually looking at. He's almost like looking at the evolution of himself at the very end. And it just shows so much about it. Like it's almost like such a fascinating thing to like, and this is like, this is going to be the, I'll kind of give you the, like the quickest kind of like breakdown of how I always kind of look at it, because you have like Aries in the beginning and it's like ready to go and embark on the journey. It's that cardinal fire. It's the spark, right? And then you got like right next to it, you've got Taurus. And Taurus is, yeah.
And really quick, Daniel, if I could, I got to throw this in there right as you're talking about this. Have you thought about the divine intervention, the divine connection right now with what you're talking about? When you talk about Aries, right? You're in Arizona.
Oh,
right? And you're a Taurus, which is right after Aries, and you live in Arizona. I love my wordplay. And I don't think that's a coinkydink. Not to mention, I was seeing on TikTok and a lot of the social medias about this big fire going on right down your street.
Yeah.
The the Havana, I don't want to mix it up with the Santa virus, But I'm talking about there's a big fire out in like the Goodyear area or something like that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it's certain like Wickenburg is where it's like, yeah, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
you're just talking about Aries and fire and the spark, and we're in the year like the fire horse year and all these things, and you live in Aries zona, and now we're moving from Pisces to Aries. So I'm just like, dude, this like,
So
wow.
it's so fascinating. And then you think about like when you think about Arizona, you don't really think about having like your snow shovel and like a big North Face jacket on. Aries is like this
Yeah.
hot energy, right? And it like gets your attention. It's that kind of like fire kind of energy. But it's so true. You've got like Aries, and it's so funny because like Aries is just like ready to go on the adventure. Like he's like ready to go to embark. It's that boldness because Aries is like Rambo energy. Aries isn't even waiting for backup. Aries is just like, you know, Aries shoots first and asks questions never. Like it's just like ready to jump into the adventure, right? And we all experience that in that kind of way. And I love how Taurus is just like right next to him. And Taurus is like, you know, Taurus is about like beauty and harmony. And Taurus was like, hey, can you make sure you get my right side? My right side's the best. You know, and they're like, okay, Taurus, like, don't you worry. But he's just like, and you look at it. He's got like this beautiful beard. He's like really combed looking to it. You go right next to it. You got Gemini. He's literally holding up the twins. And Gemini rules. Like, you know, Gemini is one of the connections with Gemini too, is like the intelligence of your hands. He's like quite literally showing that to you through that kind of component. And it breaks up the first like season of the year and how all the seasons are like within themselves and they're self-contained, like they're in the self-contained groups, and how early on in the chart you actually see this component of them like all looking at Jesus. And then you make your way to the back and like Capricorn and Aquarius, which are the more like evolved components, they're the only ones that aren't looking at Jesus. They're the ones that are like looking towards the future because they're the ones that are aware. They're like, hey, they're about to kill our prophet. Like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do? And Capricorn and Aquarius are so worried about it. And Pisces is at the end being like, it's all what it is. It's all one big moment. Like, don't you understand? It's all right here. Like, why are you like looking towards the future? You know, why are you doing this? You can even see how Leo is literally like leaning over Cancer, who's like holding his heart. And like Cancer is literally like holding his heart in a little bag in the picture. And Leo is literally like leaning over him, tapping Virgo on the shoulder. And he's like, hey, does Jesus know I'm here? Has Jesus seen me? Like, does Jesus know I'm here? Because Leo's like about getting the attention and the awareness kind of thing. And Virgo's like, shut the hell up, Leo. Like, Jesus will look at you when he wants to look at you kind of thing. Because like, she's the right-hand man of Jesus. And you can even see like the Trinity that's between like their shoulders. That's kind of connected. That actually gives you that like aspect of, you know, because you go into like Gnosticism, you really understand like what Virgo represents and its kind of connection. And then you've got like Libra right there being the equinox and the balance. And then right above it, you got Scorpio with the sting because he represents Judas. And he's representing like when the sun gets stung at the end, at that part of the year, at the judgment. And then the days start getting shorter and we start having to decline. And it gets all the way till the end of this, you know, the solar year before that rebirth that kind of happens right in Capricorn when the beginning starts again, you know? So it's such a fascinating thing when you kind of like look at it in that kind of way. But I think what's so important about it is like, you know, you put this out in the very beginning, you're like, hey, I've got this unique connection with Jesus. And like, cause like what this really is this is a Western mandala. Like we know what Eastern mandalas are with like the beautiful art and the colors and how you meditate on them. Well, in the West, we have mandalas too. They're just not in the abstract way. They're a little bit more constructed and technical because like, if you think about it, the Western savior, the Western prophet was a builder, where the East sees the world as like a play. The Chinese saw it as like a giant organism. In the West, our prophet was a builder. He was, you know, he was a carpenter. So like, it's very constructed, kind of like a building would be. So our mandalas are a little bit more technical, but it's meant to be in the same way. You're supposed to meditate because like you're Jesus at the middle of the table. You're balancing these 12 archetypes because all of these archetypes are within you. Now, maybe some of them have a little bit more energy because your sun is in them, but your moon is, but you're supposed to be, you know, embodying all of these qualities within yourself. And you're the one that's like holding this table down, but you have all of these different kind of components that you're trying to do. And that's what I love about the body, how it like self-contains it. Cause like there's so many people when you jump into astrology, like, you kind of like identify, like myself. I'm like, oh, well, I'm a Taurus. What do I know about Scorpio? Well, then you look into my chart and you're like, actually, Scorpio plays a huge part in my chart, because they all do. Because what we're really trying to do is to like unify these all and harmonize them all, so they're not working as 12 different musical notes. It's more of like an orchestra within you. And even when you look at the zodiac wheel, the zodiac wheel is kind of just like numbers, like how we kind of said, like there's a good component and a bad component. The zodiac wheel, that is either your map of liberation, or if it's your cell of incarceration. All of those placements can either be your prison keepers, or they could be actually the map of how you actually can break out of that wheel. Because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to harmonize all of those notes, so you like tune into the frequency that's like the most perfect pitch, that it like shatters a wine glass like an opera singer. That's what you're kind of trying to do with astrology. You're actually trying to shatter that wheel, because that's also your samsara. That's what like keeps you back coming here. So you're really trying to like understand them and, and embody them, and to love them and to harmonize them, because they could be either, the prison keepers, or they can be part of your prison escape. But, you get to choose. You get to choose that. That's where that component comes in, because, so many times people can have these like, like, oh, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? It's just like, no, it depends on how you interact with it. Same thing with the number 74. People could get, you think about the flip of that with 47. So many people are like afraid of it. And you're like, no, this is just a powerful number. This number just has weight. It's how you interface with it that really gives you the understanding of it. But this right here, like, Da Vinci is so important. And like, it's even just like hysterical what he hit into it. Like how Sagittarius is like the tallest one of the group. It's because like homeboy's got horse legs under there. He's like standing above everybody, and like how Capricorn is like bringing the past. His hands are back here because Capricorn wants to bring the past and like what's important from the past into the present. And Aquarius is kind of like the future scientific mad scientist who's looking to the future. But it's so funny because like at the end of it, it's all so simple. Pisces is like, don't you see? It's all right here. Like the kingdom of God was within you. It's all right here. Like, don't worry about this like facade death that's going to come through. It's like this kingdom of God is like within you. And that's like what that hidden speaker is. And that's what the hidden thing is. But again, you have to go through all 12 steps to get there. Like
I love that. I love, like, I hadn't looked at the Pisces symbol in this. I feel like this is me sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Like in life, I'm just like, you don't like you were saying, you're like, look at the table, look at everybody. Don't look at me. Look at like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's but like with kind of this like frustrated, kind of like emotionally like frustrated face. And I feel like that is a lot of what I feel, because I'm an emotional person. I'm a Pisces, and I get frustrated in this journey, and it's like you're looking at the whole table and it's just chaos, but like in a beautiful way at the same time. But like, and then like the two before him, like kind of just leaning in, kind of like angry at Pisces. It's like, because they're like, what are you gonna do? And it's like, dude, why are you mad at me? Like that's amazing that you kind of pointed that out, and I had to zoom in. And
isn't it so funny? And that's like us looking at the heavens and like, why did this happen? Why is this happening? And the heavens are like, don't you see? Like it's all part of this, like this cycle, and it's part of this pattern. Like it is what it is. Like just this, like it's all going to be through this process. And like, and it's so true, because like you never, like you always know when something's complete when it's simple and it makes sense, right? And so like you have to go through this like complicated thing, but at the end it's always so simple. And that's what I think he's like holding up his hands. He's like, why are you yelling? Like, why are you freaking out? And you're all trying to calculate, how you're gonna like save it. It's just like, it is what it is. Like, just let it be. And then it like restarts that cycle. And we kind of go from it in that kind of way. But I really love what I utilize this mandala for a lot too, is like, if I don't understand an archetype, I look at it and I like look at the face and I try to like understand it. Cause like as a kid, like that like Leo energy, I never really understood that as a kid. It's like, I'm a golden age inception act, a really good question in the beginning. It's like, I'm a Taurus sun, I'm a Capricorn moon, and I'm a Cancer rising. And so I never really understood the kid who like always had to get called on. And like when the teacher's like, who wants to be first today? He's like, oh, me. And like always kind of like jumped in for the spotlight. When I was younger, I'd be like, man, like, why does he have to do that? And then like I look at Leo and I like focus in and I'm like, oh, like he validates they validate their existence by being seen. Like he kind of has to be seen to know that this is a reality that he's operating in. It's not like it's a selfish thing. It's just like, that's where they're standing in the funhouse of mirrors. Like that's how that universal light hits them. That bends off the mirrors. It hits them in this like awareness of like needing to be seen, And then I look at the component of like where Leo's in my chart and I'm like, that's funny. That's the area I need to always focus on, which is like my own personal security and things like that. So it makes a lot of sense. But even if you like have like, you even know just the sun sign of somebody that you struggle with, just kind of coming in and like meditating on the face, meditating on the color and the energy, you can learn a lot about the person. And like, it gives you this like understanding to interface with people in a way of like, you don't all process consciousness in the same exact way that I do. And that's actually a beautiful thing. And I want to celebrate that. And I think that that's one of the most important things about astrology was like, not so much of like understanding myself. It's more of like understanding other people. So I'm like looking at it from like, hey, I don't know what it's like in your shoes. But I can kind of get this context to kind of understand like what gets your attention, what drives you in that kind of way. But this way of, again, putting it within the body, like he did at the Divine Being, like, I love that because it's like, it's one of the things that I'm always trying to explain. I'm like, hey, you're not just the 3 signs that you think you are. You're embodiment of all 12 of these. And how that's encapsulated there is so true. And it's like a perfect alignment for this like reawakening, because you're like, oh, like it's when you start to like understand that, you wake up from that space and you actually like rise up and you're like arisen. And you kind of like shake off that dust and arise, because now you've kind of like woken up to that awareness, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And something that like Rambo, right? Like if he was in this conversation, like, he would also point out the symbology of the head, right? You have Aries, right? Which is also symbolically to the ram. Yeah. Hence just the symbol of it, the horns on the ram. And then you got Taurus, the bull. I mean, these are 2 very large animals, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, rams can be debated, but point is think about symbols of like a ram or a bull. I think of like the Dodge Ram truck or the Chicago Bulls. Well, it's only their head. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah. Like, I mean, you'll have spin-off logos, but I'm talking like the main logo is just their head. Yeah. And I feel like that's what they're telling you as well. Like Aries, the ram, Taurus, the bull, they're in the head. Yeah. And then when you get to the throat, that this, and it's written here in Divine Beings, it's kind of small right here, but you see emphasizes the 2 hands, right? So when you go down to the third, right after you, Taurus, the bull, red, that's interesting. Yep. Yeah. Not like the Chicago Bulls, but the 2 hands. Yeah. Well, there's other hands on the table, but why are they side by side, essentially mirror images of each other? They're the twins. The twins. That's the twins. It's right there, right? Absolutely. And then we were talking about Leo, but like notice that the sign for Leo, or at least the way that this image is drawn, notice that he's positioned literally in the shape of an L. There's the L for Leo right there. Elbow on the table, like that's the Leo in this, and like that's where even positioning, hand signs, where they're looking, all these things, right? It's telling a story.
Yeah, and actually, because again, this is what's so cool about like activating this. That's actually the elbow on the table. That's actually Cancer. Leo's leaning over him on top of it.
Oh, is okay, yes.
Yeah, but that's a good look. To kind of like look into. See, he has it different. I've always studied it that Leo is leaning over in that way. So again, this is like there's like a unique kind of interpretation there where he's not wrong, because there's kind of this component that like even in the way of like how he's like expressing it, it's interesting because, like, again, Taurus, I've always seen in the throat, but that's the thing too, is like there's multiple different ways of interpreting and opening this up. So I kind of like how he's even put it in this kind of way. But one of the things that I think is really important, because you'll see that between different schools of like metaphysics. Sometimes they'll have a different interpretation of even like, oh, what the tarot suits mean and stuff like that. And people think like, oh, you have to pick one, or one has to be right. No, there's always like a depthness that kind of goes from it. Like if you learn one thing and then something else comes out and it's just like it changes that, it's not that you have to choose. The seed will never like do a disservice to the tree. And sometimes there's like a deeper understanding. And honestly, like I want to sit with this longer, because I think that the divine being could have something here that needs to be looked into. But it doesn't mean that or because I kind of said that wrong. I was like, oh, this is how I've always studied it, is what I should have said.
Yeah.
I always put Cancer on the ground holding his heart, and Leo is leaning over him because it's like the attention kind of thing, tapping Virgo on the shoulder. But like
what he's emphasizing is, at least the way I'm interpreting this drawing. Once again, shout out Julio, divine being divine. He drew this, and he writes here, right? You got Cancer, crab pincher, Cancer. And if we look, notice too that he's holding this knife, right? So he's holding this knife and he's leaning over, like he's technically fourth in line, if you think about it. Like if this was a line,
absolutely.
He's the fourth one, and he's leaning over Leo L, like where his elbow, right, is showing the L. So that, in other words, that's his interpretation. And to your point, what I was going to say is that there's a reason why in grade school, every once in a while, instead of select one, it would be like they'll give you 8 answers and it says select all that apply. When they ask you a question, it's like, guess what, there's multiple right answers here.
100%. 100%.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, so, and it's like, and again too, it's like it's kind of like, even with like, you think about gematria, there's different numbers with the different kind of ciphers that break down. But just because the reduction says 44 and maybe the ordinal is 108, it's like, it's not that you have to choose like, well, what one am I going to go with? They're all giving us another look at like the diamond. And I think that's what this is. It's a subject that's like a diamond. So there's different ways of looking at it, because like everything that
you shed light on it, and the diamond's going to spring out, lights everywhere, not just one pathways. Single. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's the beauty of the diamond.
I think that's the beauty about these subjects too. And I think that this is also something that like is really good for us to like, in this era that we're moving in with like all this Aries energy. Cause like, honestly, like maybe the next conversation we could kind of talk about like all this energy that moved in with Aries. But I do think there's like a component at this point too, to be bold and to even like push ourselves to be like, okay, this is how it's traditionally been looked at, but like, what more can we add to this? Like, how do we stand on the shoulders of giants and kind of look at it in this way? Because like, as he's seeing it, I'm like, man, there's a lot to contemplate on the way that he kind of put it. And again, it's not wrong. It's just a different, deeper kind of way of understanding how this energy kind of comes together. And it's like the same kind of way when people are like, oh, like, is it Vedic astrology? Is it tropical astrology, which is like between the East and the West? You got to know both. You got to know like how both of those work together. You got to know how your like Chinese year works together. Of course, there's not just like one manual to understand this reality. It's not just like a single sheet of paper kind of thing. Like we kind of have to, again, network these different understandings in there. But I think it is bold to be able to step out and be like, hey, I'm going to put this like new perspective on this kind of thing. Just because it's been spoken about this way for hundreds of years doesn't mean that it can't be expanded on. Because and again, I would be like really interested to look into like even like what Golden Age has to say about that and all your other astrologers. Cause like, I would be really fascinating to see what they think about that too. And I think that's like a good dialogue to bring up. Cause I'm like, I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the night. Like, I'm going down this divine being rabbit hole that he's opened up for me.
Yeah, man. I'm not sure where he's at. He doesn't have a presence on Instagram anymore. I know he's been working on his own website. I wish I could, plug it right now. I'm pretty sure it's Divine Being Divine. I think if you just Google it, that, you should be able to find something at least. And the book, it's called The Hearth Book. The Hearth Book, and I mean, dude, like this book is crazy cool. So many drawings, dude. It's so cool. I'm a very artistic person, and I'm very impressed with the work and how he uses the drawings to really like show people. And we all have our own different ways of sharing the information, right? I always try to get more and more creative. I think a part of this too is, like you said earlier, right, with like eye to eye, right? It's a long stream, 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours. Those are long streams, and they could be a good fit for maybe a long drive, like a podcast kind of thing. But to your point, Cody, Rambo, and we come to the table with different things every week, and we don't talk about it as much throughout the week. We don't know exactly what we mainly want to focus on, but naturally, right? It's just the different things we're looking at any given week. By the end of the show, you're like, oh my God, you see how that clicked? You see how that clicked? You see how that clicked? Like,
it's so
and we
cool
have our different ways of doing it. Rambo has the cool videos. Cody has great visuals. I try to keep things just as simple as I possibly can, because I need to be fed like a toddler when it comes to the astrology stuff.
For sure. No, for sure. And again, it's always so cool how you guys, it's like one's always setting somebody else up, and then the other one like knocks it down with like, oh, that's so funny that you just brought that up, because
we don't even know it. Like, I mean, honestly, I swear to you guys, like I'm blown away every week when I'll say something and then Rambo will be like, oh, that's interesting that you were looking at that, because if it's literally part of my presentation, like, but then it's a different angle, right? So then I'll bring something else on that same piece of it. And then it just makes it that much better, right? It's so fun and exciting, because you never know what you're going to get into, but by the end, it's like, dude, like we're all on the same web. We're just on different parts of it.
And that's what's so like awesome about watching your chat live, because you guys will say something and like literally like Rambo will just like bring something right there, and it will immediately be a comment. So it's not cool. Even it's like everybody is on the same like wavelength, because like they have that information like right away to be like they were looking at that like that day too, because they'll just like drop in a number like within 5 seconds of it being said.
I don't know if you remember the whole Snake Eyes fad, but in the truth community, the whole thing with Charlie Kirk and Snake Eyes,
that blew my mind,
bro. That stemmed from our podcast. I am not joking. Like I'm telling you, and it wasn't my finding. It wasn't Cody's. It wasn't Rambo's. It wasn't even the followers or the person in the chat. It wasn't even their own finding. But what happened was we were talking about Charlie Kirk and Rambo's brilliant work about the zodiacs of the big bear, the little bear, the Cubs and the Bears, Chicago Bears, all those things. And someone in the chat said there's a movie back in 1989 or whatever it was, like, and then I was like, hold the phone, hold on, we got to pause everything. And then we pinned the comment, and then that turned into the rest of the stream. And then you had people during that time that were posting their own stuff. And then by the time I woke up the next morning,
it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was crazy. And like, once again, it's not even as much about the ego part of like, well, I'm the one that found this.
Yeah.
Or like, or anything. It's the fact that it was brought to the community and like it spread the way it did. It's like, man, if we could get things like that going every day, could you imagine?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, absolutely. Absolutely. No. And that was that. I almost think that was
getting the tabloids, bro. That was like, there were many news outlets that had to like, they had to address it.
No, it was like, it was unreal. And that was like, that was like one of the, I think I watched that stream like 2 days afterwards. So I got to like watch that organically, because like I thought you guys were covering it. And then so I got to watch that 2 days afterwards, like live as it was happening, like as you guys pinned the comment and stuff like that. And that was like, I mean, that was one of the most unique finds ever.
You see, in that moment, none of us knew about that. No. And I luckily in the flood of the chat, I saw it and I was like, okay, you guys, I think I think there's something worth talking
Yeah.
about here. And then next thing you know, Cody and I did a follow-up stream after Eye to Eye that same night. Like, it was that intriguing. And you know, I mean, shout out to whoever else in the community that started making their own videos on it. You know, that they were doing the same work as we were doing it on the real time, and then got it out there way quicker than I ever could, other than the stream itself, right?
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to see it just pop the way that it did.
Oh yeah.
And once again, it's just like, that's the power of the community, you know. Once again, I didn't find it, Rambo didn't find it, Cody didn't find it, even the commenter didn't find it. They just shared it in the comments, and then we were able to work together, link arms, and just get it out there to where bigger platforms see it, and then they share it, and then it's like, you can't ignore it, right?
Oh no, absolutely.
You know, the other thing too, and I'll pass it back off to you, but back to the numbers for a second. You know, we've talked a lot about this, and I'm glad that you saw kind of where Julio's coming from with regards to, you know, once again, the ram and the bull, of course they're in the head, you know, and all of those things down the line. But talking about you and me for a second, right? I know we're a couple hours apart, or hours. Well, technically, yeah, we're a few hours apart. We're a few years apart. We're a few years apart. But when we look at our own birthdays, I just wanted, like, with everything I was talking earlier about Jesus, the fish, the miracle catch, all those things. Oh, come on. Zoom in here. So once again, Andrew is a fisherman, and so here's the thing. You're older than me. Daniel and Andrew in the Bible, they were in different timelines of the story, right? And so Daniel is a major prophet in the Old Testament, right? While Andrew is a New Testament figure. So, haha, I'm younger than you. But, you know, the fisherman thing, right? Once again, we talked about salmon and trout, and then your connection with what happened tonight with salmon. You're going to go have some leftover salmon after this stream. But think about this, bro. You and I, our birthdays, if you just look at any given year, we're 51 days apart. And that's funny because it makes me think about Area 51, tinfoil hat, conspiracy. Yeah. Conspiracy, by the way, equals 51. Shout out Golden Age Deception down in San Antonio, founded on 5/1. That's the founding date of the Illuminati, and Gianna Bryant and all these kinds of things. But
Mayday, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yep. And think about that. Fisherman, reverse reduction equals 51. So does miracle catch. We were talking about the miracle catch of 153 fish, and me being a Pisces, the fish, born on the date written 15/3. So, but if you include the end date, you could also say that my birthday every year, or your birthday, excuse me, your birthday every year is on my 52nd day of my age. Right? So it's either a span of 51 days, or if you include the end date of your birthday, I'm in my 52nd day, right?
Yeah.
And fishermen. So you have singular version fishermen, and then fishermen plural, 51, 52. And with what we're talking about, I'm just like, holy smokes, to me, that's crazy. But once again, I am younger than you. So
yes, yeah. No, let's definitely let's pin that to the top. Right? Yeah, he is younger. You know, and that's so interesting too. And you know, again, this is something that I just kind of I've always done. But especially when there's a number, I kind of think of 52 as well. I when the number 2 shows up, I almost sometimes think about it what about 5 2 times? Because 52, almost writing 5/5 out, which is my birthday, which is 5/5. It's 5 2 times almost. I always kind of mess around with that kind of idea. That was what came into my mind too. Is this oh, interesting, because my birthday is the number 5 2 times, and we're 52 days apart with the date included too. You know, so it's it's just so interesting.
5.
Yeah, 2 5s.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing, man. I mean, 55 is another big number. I mean, base ciphers, God and Satan both equal 55. It's that yin and yang. It's that push and pull. It goes back to the opening part of the video. And I think when we do land the plane here tonight, we'll go back and we'll replay your beautiful writing.
Oh, you're so nice.
Hey, I got to ask before I forget. Do you have a name for that? Do you have a title for it? Or is it just something that you had written in a notebook and you never named it anything?
No, you know, and That's like, that was really just kind of like a like you said, like a stream of consciousness kind of thing, you know. It's actually kind of funny because um like what the title in my mind is there's a in the very like front of it, I took a picture of a rock paper scissor trophy that I got when I won second place in a rock paper scissor competition in New South Wales when I was in college. Like that's what the opening photo is. So like I didn't take it seriously at all. Like I didn't think anybody really was even going to see it, kind of thing. You know, like it's like kind of interesting. I didn't have a
come
title
on,
to
man.
it at all.
You have a lot of you have a lot of people out there in your corner, bro. I mean, you're doing amazing work. I'm just like the fact that myself and people in the comments were like, who wrote this? And then I even go back and like, you're not crediting yourself whatsoever. And
Well,
like, and hey, that's a humble, thing. I'm just saying, like, no one's gonna know where that is. And what I'm trying to do is be the Pisces at the end of the table and go, look, do you guys see this? Hold on. There's the Taurus up at the other end of the table, and he's not saying anything right now, but
Sure.
you guys need to go look at him because look at what he wrote. It's amazing. It's amazing. And Golden Age, really quick, I don't want to miss this comment. He said, Daniel born 5/5 in the year of the dragon. The dragon is the 5th sign of the Chinese zodiac.
Dude, he is so good with that. He's so right, too. Yeah. He's so like amazing. And yeah, Golden Age. I can't wait to get connected. Like me and like I've so always been a big fan of his work. So I'm like so jazzed because every time I'm like when he puts comments in, I'm like blown away.
There's 52 people watching right now.
Look at that. You know what I mean? Like it's unreal how that kind of happens. Super amazing. Oh man, amazing. It really is. It's such a unique kind of thing. And it was kind of like the same thing with the snake eyes with you. Like it's like when the writing comes out, I'm like, I just want to get it out there. Like I don't even think about it because like honestly, like that was like one of the things, like with even the Know Thyself podcast, like I don't even think I said my name on the first episode, and like my best friend Eduardo, who's like because I'm like I always tell people I'm like I'm my second favorite host of the Know Thyself podcast because he's my favorite. Like he's just like more of an adult. He's got like family, so he can't just like jump in on conversations like this. But we shared the name, but it was one of those things that like I always kind of make it objective about this information where like Daniel's not personally involved in it. So like to me, it's just like, hey, it came out on the podcast, whoever kind of gets it. But it is funny because there is a couple different writings that have come up that I've posted as of recently. And it's like one of those things that like it's almost like once I put it out there, I almost don't even feel like it's mine anymore. I'm like, oh, this is just like something that's shared because it's like it's such an inspiration of just like everything that kind of comes through. But I do really appreciate the beautiful things you said about it because it's like, like honestly, like until you brought it up that day, like I forgot I wrote, like it was like out of sight, out of mind. Like it wasn't until like I jumped on your live that one day and you're like, what a beautiful thing that was. And I was just like, what are you talking about? And then you like told me and I was like, oh yeah, that thing.
And I was like, yeah, dude, like that was so cool. And the way you made it sounded super old school.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounded like, granted, we all know what assuming does, but I was like, oh, you found this and like, you put a bow on it and then you shared it. And I was like, yeah, so like who wrote that? Where can I go find that? Like by Googling it, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh yeah, I wrote that. It's like, I nearly fell out of my chair. I was like, wait, what?
That was such a dude. That day was so fun when I jumped on with you. I was like, that was like 15 minutes that my phone had battery. That was the best.
Yeah,
that was the best.
Yeah. We were on with Tom Zames. He's another great one out there.
Great.
Shout out to you, Tom.
Yep.
But yeah, no, Tom. I ask because I mean, man, I would happily help you with that. As far as like, dude, I kind of want to type that out and put it in a frame and have you sign it for me. Like,
oh my gosh,
like,
man.
It's so good. It's so good, man.
That's so funny. Because I actually my like such a dear person for me. Actually, I wrote something on numbers a long time. It's called Numbers, the Eternal Dance. And that one was before I knew about like text to speech. And you could hear me try to narrate it. And you could just like tell that I'm like having the hardest time in my life. Right. But I narrated that one. And like she even like wrote it and did it in calligraphy and sent it to me. And it was like the most like beautiful thing. But there has been a lot of like people being like, hey, you should write, like just like publish it or do something with those kind of things. So, you know, it's one of those things now that like people are bringing it up. I'm like, I mean, it's kind of what like, sure. Like I'm totally down. Cause like, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like
it would be sick if you got that into just even a mini book. Like I'm sure there's other excerpts that you've written. Get that in like any sort of print, and then just like you did with that video, the one that we opened with, you could have like an audio book version of it, and
cool.
it has that beautiful like tone and music to it. Like, you know, another thing not to forget, right? Think about music. It's all based off of numerical beats, and a lot of songs open up with 1, 2, 1,
Sure.
2, 3, 4. It's all frequency. Just those words alone are so incredibly powerful. Like if I read those just in dead silence, I'm going to be moved. But when you put that music behind it, dude, it pulls me out of my house. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's so funny. That's so funny.
So I just an idea. I was saying if you were to do that, I'd be like, hey, I want both. Can I have the audio book too, which has that kind of frequency with it too? It's so powerful, man. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. And you know, it's so funny too, because like you know, when it comes to writing, like I kind of have like a common spoken voice, kind of like how we speak here is how I sound on the podcast. But I could send you some writings really quick that will take me down to size really quick. You're like, oh, this guy's a goofus. Like I wrote a whole
bro. You got to remember, I'm a Blink 182 fan, greatest band of all time, and they do poopy pee-pee jokes. You know what I mean? So trust me.
I got a this is funny because like it was a couple of years ago, but man, I had a weekend once where I was just bored. I wrote a whole blog called The Goat Guru. And he was it's like the most ridiculous spiritual writing. Like the Goat Guru takes no shit. He just tells you how it is kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like he's like, hey, Snack Pack, can I call you Snack Pack? Like it's a completely different form of writing, but I'll send you some Goat Guru and you'll be like, it'll knock me down to a place really quick. You're like, oh, this guy's he's just a goofball kind of thing.
I would love that, man.
But yeah, no, that writing has been an interesting expression. And, you know, I think that that's like, one of the things too, because like writing was never something that was like an expression of my own till later on in life. And it's kind of like, you know, it's maybe like a motivation for like everybody here to like, hey, like, even if there was something that like you didn't have a relationship when you were younger, it's so important to like take all that Aries energy of embarking on something new and stepping towards something. Cause like, I would have known that was of anything of importance kind of thing, you know? And even that Aries energy of putting it out there. Cause like, honestly, I didn't think it was the cat's pajamas until you said it. Like, I was just like, oh, whatever, you know, I'll just put it out there. But it's such a cool thing, especially as you kind of go through that process to see what kind of unfolds. Cause like, as you go through that process of self-unfoldment, you move stuff and stuff opens up and there's like expressions that want to come out. And that writing, it started with just like journaling and doing like alchemical writing that kind of like opened up in that kind of way. But it's been
what do you mean? What do you mean by that alchemical writing? What do you mean?
Yeah. So like, you know, when you're going through the process of alchemy, you go through like when you're going through the various stages, you almost want to take yourself through like writing exercises. So one of them is like you write like a love song, but you're not writing like a love song to like a significant partner. You're writing either the love song to like the universal mother or the universal father, or to like, you're writing a love song to like your aspect of like, maybe like a core trauma that you're having. Like you almost try to like open up that energy and see if like collapsing it on paper can help you like get some alchemical information about the process. So especially in the process of like dissolution, which is like the second process when like you're kind of like releasing water, you capture expression through that way. And that's where it kind of opened up. And it was really interesting because you actually like take yourself through the process of almost writing like love songs. But you're not writing it about the significant other. You're writing it about this. And then you start to think about it and you're like, oh man, this is what every like hit has ever been. Like they're not talking about just like a person. They're talking about that universal consciousness, like that they're trying to get connected to, that you're kind of tapping into, and you can read it through the lens of that kind of way. But yeah, you open up and you push yourself in alchemy to like do things you've never done before. And so that's kind of where that like alchemical process went through. It's like you call it like alchemical writing, and you kind of put yourself through that. And you know, and two, that alchemical experience is so unique to each and every one of like us that like I really like, you know, give everybody that invitation that there's something to like explore there with that alchemical dialogue, because it's a different thing when you collapse words and you actually like create the glyphs and you like inscribe them on paper. It's a little bit different that like what kind of comes out, and it's really interesting what gets contained in those lines that comes through it. And so yeah, that's how that process kind of started. And then it just kind of, I guess, went through some toning and things like that through, so it could actually be like, you know, shared.
And with that, I mean, I thought right now might be a good reminder or plug for yourself about where people can find you, where they can go support you, right? We were talking about Divine being Divine. Shout out to him. But would love an opportunity to just dump in your website. And I will make sure that the description of the video, when we close shop here, we'll get all of Daniel's credentials, his links, for anybody who wants to follow and go support Daniel.
Sure.
I really want to make sure that everybody has access to you moving forward, as well as all of your information that you're working on and that you have worked on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it is. It's the Know Thyself podcast. And it's the Know Thyself podcast with a sun logo. Is because there's another Know Thyself podcast that popped up, but that one's a little different. It's a sun logo. And actually, you know, when I was 36, so your age, you youngin, like, oh, way back in your day, right? We actually had a whole process of like losing the website, and we're going through a process of like rebuilding it right now. So that website is going to be coming very soon. So to be on the lookout for that. And it's actually going to be like a website that's also going to have like an app included, which will have like an astrological and a like a numerology forecast each and every day, which will be really, really cool. So you can kind of like tune in to look at like what the numbers in astrology are doing in that moment to help you kind of like calibrate it. So we're kind of trying to make it into a whole thing that could be like a one-stop shop for people in that. But yeah, we have the Instagram page, the YouTube as well. And then any kind of podcast service, you'll find us on Know Thyself podcast.
Thank you, Daniel. And hey, I just pinned it. I typed it out, but I'll remove it if I did not spell this correctly, because I noticed you do have those underscores, at least on your Instagram page. So for people, did I spell this correctly? Know Thyself broken out by the under.
It's just the Thyself is connected. So Thyself is connected.
Thyself. Okay.
That's
so
That's it.
no.
Don't worry.
All right. No underscore Thyself, one word, underscore podcast.
That's it. My man.
And this is Instagram as well as YouTube, right? Where we're streaming.
Yep. Absolutely.
Perfect. So I'm going to get that in here for the chat. Pin it for a couple minutes here. I'm not trying to necessarily wrap things up. I just thought, you know, with what we're talking about with the work that you do with not like, hey, Daniel's not just writing poetry in outside in the dark in Arizona. He's he's doing some amazing things. I just so happened to see a gem of what he did with that personal writing that I didn't even know it was. It was that good. I was like, there's got to be someone else doing this, because this knucklehead didn't write that. And then he's like, oh yeah, no, I wrote it. So
no,
anyways.
absolutely. And then like for my, and again, it's so funny because like you like ask that question. I'm like, oh yeah, what do I do? But I also do astrological like consultations as well, so we can have like a conversation about people's astrology chart, their numerology, or even like alchemical consultations. And what we'll do is we'll just make the promo code for anybody listening in your community. It'll just be the letter A and the letter J. And I'll keep that up forever. That'll be 30% off like any kind of like consultation that anybody wants to do. And then also, if you're ever in a space that you just like want to chat to somebody and like you don't have the funds, always reach out to me on Instagram. Like we always can make something work. Like don't ever let finances get in the way of like wanting to talk to somebody about your astrology as well. So if you are ever interested in getting connected and it's just not the financial time, don't let that ever impede on anything. We can always make something work. But yeah, just the letter AJ. And we'll keep that promo code up for like, I don't know, like how about 20? I'll make it expire in like 2,500. So you'll have time to use it. So you're like, but that anybody
25,
can use that.
the 2 5s, huh? We're going back to the 2
You're a wizard.
Well, no, that's very kind and very noble for you to offer that discount for anybody that's interested in at least just getting further connected with Daniel. I can speak for myself here, and I will attest and say that Daniel was kind enough to offer me a free consultation. I think, I'm not sure exactly how you found me in my work, but we got connected and you were just like, man, we got to chat. We got to chat because we shared a lot of voice messages back and forth for a while. But you finally got me to where I needed to be at that time. And he was kind enough to even sit down with my wife alongside me. And he did both of our charts. He spent a lot of time with both of us and he gave us all the time that we needed. So, and a very kind individual, if you guys haven't already picked up on that. So I just, I needed to attest to that as well.
I'm blushing. Yeah. But man, that conversation, we need to have more conversations like that. Cause that was, I had so much fun when we were chatting together, man. And your wife, like she knows her stuff. Like it was amazing seeing, like having that dialogue between like, again, the three of us together. I was energized about that for like weeks. Like I kind of had like a silly grin on my face for like 4 days after. People like, what are you so happy about? I'm like, I had the funnest conversation. Yeah, no, that was so great.
I felt the same way, man. And I do remember saying at the end of our call, I was like, man, when you guys started going back and forth about all this zodiac astrology stuff, once again, I like get frustrated. I'm like, I don't know. I want to go sit at the big boy table. Like I felt like you guys were speaking Chinese at a point, but like, it's like, I want to know so bad. And I know it takes time. But yeah, no, I appreciate that, but it was a great experience, you guys, seriously. Daniel's very communicative. He's always there for the community. And once again, whatever your situation is, make sure that you guys give him a shout out at _Thyself_podcast on both Instagram and YouTube. Shoot him a DM. And you guys can pick it up from there for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, like we've known this since day one, since our first little voice messages together. And I love how we just jumped into walkie-talkie mode immediately on Instagram when we got connected. Like, hey, I'm just gonna walkie-talkie you. But I love chatting with you, AJ. So I really said like this. I think this is the first of many kind of conversations because there's so much for us to explore together. And two, even if we wanted to bring other people in, have like little like roundtable kind of conversations with your community and stuff like that, like I'm always open to open up dialogue with you.
Oh, 100%, Daniel. Seriously, like, I mean, it would be awesome just to have you. Like, I'm going to tell you right now. Every Tuesday, right? We do the eye to eye with Rambo and Cody. The door is open for you every single week. Like if you just want to jump in and be a part of the conversation, seriously, like we would be honored, man. And
that would be so funny.
I've opened that door for people like Myron. He got game. Same with Golden Age Deception. I mean, we're all busy.
That one. That was great. Yep.
Yeah, and we're all busy, right? But I'm saying you guys don't ever hesitate to reach out and be like, hey, I got some time tonight. Can I hop in? Can you send me the link? No problem whatsoever. I would be very thankful to have you join anytime. So
amazing. It'd be funny too, because both Cody and Rambo would be like, oh, this is the crazy guy that always leaves comments on my page. I'm like, that's me. That's me, dude.
But no, I'm telling you, like, and I've said this to Rambo and Cody, and they always try to, give me credit for like setting up the weekly show, which I appreciate. But like for me, it's like, dude, this show isn't anything without Rambo, Cody in the chat. Period. Like
100%.
I'm just happy to be here. Like the fact that I'm even in the room is a blessing. And I got people like Betty who's jumping in every time that she can. Shout out to you, Betty. Thank you again for joining.
Betty?
Good to see you. She's one of the first in the chat every week on Eye to Eye. But I'm almost thinking eye to eye, know thyself. The play on words there.
No, absolutely.
And what I really do appreciate about like our types of collabs, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. in my opinion, I feel like you have to find the light in the darkness. Like, you know, this journey is hard, right? And it's hard for anybody, no matter how privileged or not you are, right? There's going to be darkness. And like, for me, light is not only the knowledge, the hidden knowledge, but it's also the smile. It's that warmth in your chest. It's that laugh, right? And I think that that's a lot of what I get from your writing that we shared at the beginning. It's that journey and like finding that, like holding on to that warmth, no matter how cold it gets, or whatever the metaphor you want to use. And that's why I always like to find just a quick little joke or jab or whatever, to keep things as light as you can. Because yeah, things get dark sometimes, but it's like, hey, you guys, it doesn't have to be dark. The light switch is on the wall. Just go to the wall and turn it on.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah. You kind of realize what that like the spiritual importance of the Chinese laughing Buddha is, you know, because I think sometimes like when you get into this like spirituality, everybody loves like the Thai lotus pose Buddha and stuff like that. And it's not always like the hip thing to have that big Chinese fat laughing Buddha. But then you're like, no, homeboy knew what was up. Like you can heal so much through laughter. It's like the cat's purr, you know, it's like it heals the bones and the amount of healing that you could kind of go through. And, you know, like, we're just travelers here. We're journeying through the shadow of this. Like we're like going through the journey of the shadow of death, you know, and making our way through. And so, yeah, we're just visiting to kind of go through this experience, to go through the spiritual construct and make it through it. So like, yeah, you know, I think it's so important not to lose that capacity. Cause like, think about like the Lord of the Rings. That was some serious shit. Gandalf isn't out there just pouting. He's like having a good time. He's even making like illegal fireworks for the hobbits and shit. You know what I mean? So it's just like when in doubt, like approach it that kind of way. Even Jesus was always like, home guys, like, you know, even at that table, he's just like, why are all you so sad? Like, get over it. Like, big deal. Like, it's like, you know, he's just like, you got to understand it in that kind of way. And I think that's what's like so beautiful about it. Cause like, you know, I guess we can almost like close, like the closing thing for me would be like, one of my favorite stories is when like Jesus is walking with the disciples and like they see this dog that's like dead and decomposing on the road, and they try to like kind of shield him from it. Like, oh no, Jesus, don't get close. You're going to get sick. And he like walks right up to it. And he's just like, wow, look at how like beautiful and white his teeth are. Like what a beautiful beast that was with like that beautiful white teeth. He didn't look at the decay. He went on the one thing that was like still there. And he's like, look how beautiful his teeth were. Yeah. And it's just like, goddamn, dude, like what would Jesus do? He's like, be awesome. That's what he would do. Like, it was just like, he understood that kind of component. It's like one of my favorite stories about that whole situation is just like, hey, like, let's be the alchemist, extract the gold out of any moment. Cause it's always there, you know, waiting for that mining.
It's that sun and moon, right? Even when it's dark, the moon still sheds light onto the world. It's just 100%. A lot darker. But if you look up at the moon, you go, holy smokes, that moon is pretty darn bright.
Absolutely.
if you actually look at, like, you're fortunate enough to be able to look at it, you know, maybe with a little less difficulty than staring right into the sun.
Isn't that, it's like, yeah, it's like you can almost stare at that universal like reflection in the darkness. You can actually stare at it where you can't stare at the sun. It's like, so it actually gives you an opening of that kind of connection that you didn't have during the day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like, so that's why for me, I say it's like, well, guess what? Whether it's Jesus, whether it's God, whether it's Yahweh, whether it's, you know, whatever you want to label our creator, right? Like, and or our source or wherever we came from, whatever you want to put, whatever name you want to put on it. They also created humor.
Yeah, they sure did.
They also created laughter and joy and warmth. And, you know, there's something about like throwing a jab and the fact that you're like 100 years older than me, even though we're like a year and a half apart.
105.
like I love those kinds of little jabs, and I'm always open to take them too. And I think that that's a sign of love as well. And then like just having that, you know, humor along the way is a really, really important tool to have, because it's very easy to kind of slip off that path because it gets really dark sometimes and scary and uncertain and all those things. But hey, you have a little glowing keychain in your pocket you maybe forgot about that can kind of help get you through that part of it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. 100%, man. I couldn't agree more.
I wanted to kind of maybe, you know, start landing the plane here. I would say, you know, we're at about the hour 45 minute mark. But I would like to kind of leave you with this. once again, let's focus on the positive, not the negative. I don't know if you've ever heard of Owen Benjamin, but he's kind of a blacklisted B-list celebrity from back in the day. He got ousted by Hollywood, and he's now living somewhere on his own with his wife and kids in northern Idaho, growing his own food, doing all this stuff. But he's a comedian, and he's not for everybody. There's a reason why some people immediately would just get turned off by what he says or how he says it. But not for me. I feel like I can relate to him very much. And when you know people more and you get to I don't know him personally, right? But when you start to understand more like where they're coming from and why they're saying it the way they're saying it, and really what the intended message is, that's when you're able to kind of start seeing clearer. But he wrote a book. You called me a wizard a couple times. There's this book he wrote, I think last year. It's called How to Slay a Wizard by Owen Benjamin. How to Slay a Wizard, and it's like a wizard hat with a knife going in it and all that stuff. And I wanted to share with you a quick little excerpt about it just to give you a taste. The very first sentence that he writes here, he says, chapter 1, what is a wizard? He said, before we do anything else, we need to define some words. And how wizardry is words, essentially. And how the wizard, you were talking about the Wizard of Oz. Well, guess what? The Wizard of Oz, he has no power. He has zero power unless all the characters give it to the wizard. And then the moment the wizard's exposed, now all of a sudden he's crawling away in a corner. And then what does he do? He gives the lion fake confidence. He gives the Tin Man a fake sense of knowledge, all these things, but they feel like they finally accomplished it, right? It's kind of that. I mean, that's literally the first sentence in the book. And I was like, man, words, gematria, right? Kind of where I lean in heavy. I was like, wow, How to Slay a Wizard. The very first thing he says is we need to define some words.
Amazing.
I mean, in the obvious stuff, right? Like you spell a word.
Yeah.
I mean, spelling the order of our language, all that's wizardry. Like it's all. Does it mean it has power? Yes, but not to the wizard doesn't hold power. They can't create anything. They can't build anything. They have to take advantage. They have to use the power that actually exists. To fool you and deceive you through words and those kinds of things, right? So where his humor comes in, but also like really powerful stuff. Once again, I'm just gonna give you a couple examples here. Part of his chapter 1, it's titled The Spells on Your TV. Okay. And then he just starts rattling off different things about the way that they advertise things to you, etc. So, and I might quiz you along the way here. I mean, these are really obvious ones. Everybody knows what these slogans are. Just do it. Right? Just do it. Nike, Saturn symbolism, etc. He said, Nike's Just Do It slogan was inspired by the final words of Gary Gilmore, a double murderer in 1970s Utah who was executed by a firing squad. His last words were, let's do it. And Don Wyden, the ad man, adopted it to just do it for a 1988 TV spot. And he said, think about that. The last words of a serial killer became the most famous slogan in advertising history. Saturn, the keeper of time, Saturn, Satan, symbolizing death, that kind of thing. Interesting. I like this one. This is where he gets funny with it. But he's like, hey, it's right there. I'm going to put you on the spot, Daniel. I don't know how good your singing is, but can you do the jingle of Farmers Insurance? Farmers Insurance.
Oh gosh, man.
We are.
Oh, farmers. Yeah, you're right. Look, I just needed you to do it, and then just like that was like a knee-jerk reaction that just came out of me.
But what is it right after that? We are farmers.
Isn't it just like that? Isn't it music or
bum 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 bum?
Yes,
right?
yes.
So he goes, take Farmers Insurance. We are farmers. Bum 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 bum. 2 words in the magic or in the jingle. Bum and dumb.
Oh my gosh.
You are a dumb bum and they are farmers. But what do they farm? They farm your fears. That's what insurance does.
It is.
It's right. Think about the people that have paid insurance their whole life
Yeah.
and they've never had to use it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like insurance is a complete fraud. Like I understand the gist behind it, but that's what they do. We farm on your fears.
Yeah. 100%.
And by the way, you're a dumb bum, and we farm you. We are farmers. You bum, but bum, 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 bum.
100%.
And I'm like, oh my God, dude. Wow.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's amazing, but that's part of the magic is that like they have to tell you what they're doing. Like if they present it in that way, there's less of a karmic feedback because you've consented to it. So they're like that whole natural law aspect of karma can't even come in and do it because it's like, no, they put it right in front of you and you guys just ate it off the plate. That's why they tell you like stay tuned for your scheduled programming. You know what I mean? It's like right there. Like they're told you're getting programmed.
100%. He's got a few more here, and I've just highlighted the main punchlines. Like this whole section is just going through.
I'm going to get this book immediately. Yeah, this is amazing.
It's really good. It's really good, bro. It's like 160 pages. It's really thin. It's really thin, dude. I started this like maybe 4 or 5 days ago and just leisure reading, and I'm like 90% done.
Awesome.
Sprite. Do you know what Sprite's logo or
I don't know if
slogan's been?
No.
Obey your thirst. Not quench your thirst, obey it. Be its subject, submit to it. The chemicals inside Sprite are specifically designed to keep you thirsty.
It's like drinking sand in the desert kind of thing. Absolutely.
Yep. And then next one is Pringles. Once you pop, you don't stop, or you can't stop. He goes, that's literally the language of addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, the slogan is honest though.
Yeah.
Like we're putting things in your food to make you addicted, and once you pop, you don't stop. I mean, that's literally what, like, yeah. Next one, Skittles. I like this one. Skittles, taste the rainbow. He says, taste the rainbow. The colors are a trick. The fruit flavors, quote unquote, are a trick. The rainbow on the package is a trick. None of it has anything to do with the actual experience of encountering a rainbow on a summer afternoon after a storm.
100%.
Right? It's a feeling stolen from a real experience and attached to a poison.
Yeah.
I like this one, and especially saying it to you with your big manly beard. And like, this is the best. This is the best I can do. But Gillette, you know Gillette? You know Gillette.
Yeah.
Do you know what the slogan is?
No.
You've heard it. Gillette, the best a man can get. Something like that.
Yep.
You remember that one?
Yep.
He writes, think about that. The pinnacle of manhood. The absolute apex of what a man can achieve, and it's a smooth face, a baby's face. The best a man can get is to look like he's never grown a whisker. It's so humiliating that it almost has to be a joke. Right? I mean, think about it. Like, dude, like for real though, like facial hair is like one of the most like defining factors of the male
man. Sure.
Being a man.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, I shave sometimes. But the whole idea of like the best a man can get is take off all of your manhood. It's like pretty much like what I'm taking away from that.
Yeah. 100%.
Dude, it's so good. Like I said, this is like one page.
Oh, I can't wait to check this book out.
I'll leave you with this. Hold on. Let's see. This is the way all right. I'm almost done. I promise. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up here.
100% listening.
So he said, then he brings up The Matrix, like the movie The Matrix, right? Classic in this community of truth, right? He said, I used to take, he goes, this is going to give you an exact idea of like why maybe certain people don't appreciate Owen Benjamin, and they very, very quickly turn him off over just a joke.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the paragraph. He says, I used to do a joke about The Matrix. I don't take pills given to me by a black guy in a trench coat. He said that was just a funny joke, but it's actually fairly profound if you think about it, because here's the thing about the red pill. The directors of The Matrix are both trans. They've said in interviews that the red pill represented hormone therapy, and that's what waking up meant to them. Becoming the architect of your own body, rejecting the biological reality you were born into. And he's essentially saying, you know, most people, truthers and whatnot, I don't think that they would be supporting that. That's the kind of inversion. It's like you think you're you want to take the red pill. I'm a woke truther and all these things, and it's like, okay, well, did you know this though?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And that little excerpt isn't to bash on any race or anybody who is, trans or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of shed a little light on, like, to me, that was a very educational paragraph when it's like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the people that made The Matrix were trans. It also shows like where they're coming from and what the red pill truly meant to them. I think that's the other thing is when you see In God We Trust on the dollar bill, what God are we talking about? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, that's all. It's like, wait a minute, can we get more information, right? Yeah. Yeah. He said the pattern is unmistakable. Lies produce absurd fruit. So he's all about, growing food. And it's all about, are you planting seeds or are you planting poison for people to eat? Right. 100%. He said, I insisted that a word can't have an intention, that only a living being can, that a sound your mouth makes can't be racist any more than a gun can be a murderer. You know what I mean? So it's just showing how like power, powers do have word or frequency, and they do have power. What did I just say?
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think
words have power and frequency. Yeah. But a lot of it has to do with you relying on your own five senses that your creator or your God gave you, like where you came from, what you have instilled within you versus what the wizard is always trying to do. Yep. Always trying to play these word games with you. Yep. Right. And get you to feel a certain way. And guess what? As soon as you're able to remove yourself from that and use your senses to see it, the wizard has zero power. Of course. That's pretty much the whole gist of it. Like, I love it. I could do a whole live read on this book. It's so good.
You should. Yeah. I would be too, dude.
But then again, I mean, he just popped up on Tucker Carlson's podcast, and he does come from Hollywood, and he's part of the writer actors guild and all that kind of stuff. I don't think he's really doing it as much anymore, but I just want to put the disclaimer out there that like sometimes like, sure. I think you could be skeptical about anybody. Yeah. But for me, sometimes the knowledge, the information, what's being shared doesn't mean that it's all wrong, all of it. Like, no, for sure. You know what I mean? It's that truth in plain sight kind of thing. And he says in the book itself, he goes, people say that, he goes, it's not even hidden. It's just in plain sight. Yeah. It's just like, are you seeing it or are you not? It's not even hiding. It's right there. Yeah. 100%. So 100%. No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, final plug for you, Daniel. I just want to say my last thoughts here. This was absolutely amazing. Like seriously, bro, like really the second time where I've been able to have kind of a solid sit down with you, and it's been an absolute blast. And I really appreciate all the kind words and you offering up the AJ discount for your website and your consultations. I really, really hope people take advantage of that. Because, Daniel puts a lot of time and he's got so much knowledge and info that he can share with you specifically. It's really, he's literally opened the door. It's unlocked. You just have to turn the knob and walk in. Okay. Right. So, and Daniel, you're such a kind person. You always put a smile on my face. We're going to end, the last 5 minutes of the show to remind people, maybe people who came late, to listen to what Daniel has written. And there's no name on it. It's untitled at the moment, but it's a beautiful excerpt. You're amazing, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, please, I very much look forward to the next one. I certainly hope this isn't the last. It's going to be a fun ride together.
Oh yeah. You have no choice. I will find you. I will come and find you if that's the case. And no, man, this has been so amazing. And I'm so inspired by your work. You've been such a great teacher and guide in this like expansion of this numbers. And And again, too, like your community, like each and every one of like everybody that's listening, it's just it's so inspiring to be around like-minded individuals. So a big shout out to everybody who's listening in the present, in the future. And yeah, like I said, like you couldn't get away from me if you tried, AJ. I'll be like, oh no, I'll like force it onto for us to have more conversations, because I had such a blast getting connected. And there's just so much more that we need to have conversations about. So, like I always say with Eduardo, it's always like, oh, until next time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It's kind of a morbid movie, but it reminds me of John Q with Denzel Washington. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah.
The ongoing line was, it's not goodbye. It's I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I'll see you later, man.
I'll see you later, man. I love it.
It's never a goodbye. So thanks again, Daniel. I know I've said it 100 times, but really, really appreciate your work, your support, your kind words, your willingness to put yourself out there and collaborate, right? Because, it's not for everybody, and it's a tough journey doing that. But beyond that, it's very rewarding, right? I never would have connected with you without, doing that. So I appreciate you being that constant reminder that we're not alone, and everything is going to be okay. And we are where we need to be on this journey. And at the end of the day, be still, pay attention to what you're feeling, what you're seeing. Try to remove yourself and be the observer, right? As much as you can, as opposed to being pulled into those emotions that you can distance yourself from, even though it's very hard.
Of course.
It's people like you that really remind me to do that always. So I really, really appreciate that. And without further ado, we're going to replay the opener of Untitled by Daniel. Know Thyself podcast. Know_Thyself_podcast. Instagram, YouTube. Make sure to give him a like and subscribe. It really helps with our algorithm and just getting the word out there. And lastly, make sure to shoot him a DM if you guys are interested in having a one-on-one with him. And I look forward to the next one, Daniel, very, very much. You have a great rest of your night, and everybody have a great week ahead.
Sounds so great.
Until next time.
Later, AJ. See you later, everybody. So great, Shan. Have a great
Peace,
one,
brother.
man. Peace.
Daniel, I'm gonna run this back. Shout out to AIX. I screwed it up again, man. We pre-tripped this last time. The words obviously hold a lot of power, but the way that you put the music behind it, I gotta do this. I gotta give it the full grace that it deserves here. I apologize, everybody. AIX says that there was no sound. That bothers me, but it's okay. We're gonna put it right back. We're gonna get it back, you guys. That's my fault. There's this small little tab on the bottom corner, and if I don't click it, then the audio turns off. So I sincerely apologize, and thank you again, Daniel. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna run this back right now. And I just recommend everybody just close your eyes, listen, or just read the words and listen along. Thank you, AIX, for letting me know. It couldn't go out that way in silence. Peace, everybody.
When we are young, time feels like a locked gate. We stand before it with bright hands wrapped around the bars, waiting to be older, waiting to be free, waiting for the next birthday, the next room, the next version of ourselves to arrive like a royal messenger in the dawn. We think life is ahead of us. But life is not ahead. Life is the candle already burning. There is always something we are waiting for. As children, we wait to grow. As teenagers, we wait to escape. As adults, we wait to arrive. For love, for purpose, for the sign, for the money, for the healing. For the moment when the scattered pieces finally gather and say, yes, now you may begin. But the mystery is this. We have been beginning the whole time. Time does not move in a straight line. It moves like a spiral staircase inside the soul. Each year returns us to the same questions, but at a deeper chamber. The same longing, the same wound, the same dream. Only now we carry more names, more ghosts, more wisdom, more silence. When we are young, we believe aging is ascent, a climb into power, beauty, freedom becoming. Then slowly, year by year, we learn that aging is also surrender. The body becomes an hourglass. The heart becomes an archive. The face becomes a map of weather survived. And memory becomes a country where the dead still leave lamps in the windows. Every year takes something, a place, a version of you, a voice you thought would always answer, a season you did not know was sacred until it had already passed. But every year also gives something, a clearer eye, a softer hand, a deeper mercy, a more honest prayer, a strange courage that does not need applause. This is the hidden alchemy of time. It removes what cannot follow the soul and distills what cannot be destroyed. Youth is the green flame. Age is the gold hidden in ash. And somewhere between them, we discover that the point was never to become older. The point was to become real, to stop waiting for life to begin, to stop postponing joy until the heavens arrange themselves perfectly, to stop treating the present moment like a hallway, leading somewhere more holy. This moment is holy. The breath in your chest, the ache you survived, the love you still carry, the unknown still calling your name. Time is not only taking from us, time is initiating us. It is teaching us how to love what cannot stay, how to bless what must change, how to recognize that every ending is a door wearing shadow. And maybe this is why everything feels faster now. Not because time is cruel, but because consciousness is ripening. The patterns are louder, the signs are nearer. The soul is less willing to sleep through its own becoming. So do not mourn every year as a loss. Some years are knives. Some years are keys. Some years are graves. Some years are wings. But all of them are teachers. And when we finally stop asking time to hurry, we begin to hear what it has been whispering all along. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not waiting for your life. You are inside the sacred unfolding of it. And every year, even the heavy ones, even the haunted ones, even the ones that took more than they gave, has been carrying you toward the truer life within you.